Hey everyone, and welcome to Dark Knight Crimes. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm George. Thanks for joining us for a deep dive into one of those cases that just sticks with you, you know?
Oh, absolutely. And today we're talking about a case that really captured the nation's attention back in 2002 and 2003, the Scott Peterson case.
Right, the disappearance and murder of Laci Peterson.
Exactly. And George, I have to say, this case has so many layers. It's got everything. A pregnant woman disappearing on Christmas Eve, a husband acting suspicious, infidelity, media circus. It really had everything that makes for compelling true crime. But at the heart of it, it's just this incredibly tragic story.
Absolutely tragic. So let's set the scene here. We're talking about Modesto, California, December 2002. Scott Peterson is 30 years old. He's a fertilizer salesman.
Right.
And he's married to Laci Peterson, who's 27 and 8 months pregnant with their son, Connor. By all outside appearances, they seem like this picture-perfect couple.
Yeah, and that's what made this case so shocking initially. I mean, people looked at them and thought, this is the American dream, right? Nice house, expecting their first baby, seemingly happy marriage.
Exactly. So, December 24th, 2002, Christmas Eve, Scott claims he left that morning to go fishing at Berkeley Marina.
Christmas Eve fishing. Already kind of odd, don't you think?
Oh, totally. Who goes fishing on Christmas Eve when your wife is that pregnant? But anyway, he says when he came home around 4:30 that afternoon, Laci was gone.
Right, and her purse was still there, her car was in the driveway. But she was nowhere to be found. Scott's story was that she had planned to go walking their dog at East Liloma Park.
Yeah, but the dog came back alone with its leash still on, which was found by a neighbor. That immediately raised red flags.
Exactly. And George, what really struck me when I was reading about this case again is how quickly Scott's behavior started seeming off to people.
Oh yeah, right from the beginning. I mean, the search effort for Laci was massive. We're talking thousands of volunteers, helicopters, dive teams.
Right.
But Scott just seemed detached. He wasn't out there searching with everyone else, wasn't doing media appeals.
Yeah, and when he did do media interviews, he was talking about Laci in past tense. People noticed that immediately.
That's such a telling detail. And then there's the whole thing with his appearance. He dyed his hair blonde, grew a beard.
Right. The classic trying to change my appearance move. But the real bombshell came in January when Amber Frey came forward.
Oh man, Amber Frey. That completely changed everything. So for people who might not remember, Amber was a massage therapist from Fresno who had been having an affair with Scott.
And the thing is, she had no idea Scott was married. He told her he was single.
Exactly. And get this, he even told her that he would be spending his first Christmas without his wife. This was before Laci had even disappeared.
That's so chilling. Like, what kind of person says that? It really suggests premeditation, doesn't it?
It really does. And Amber, to her credit, when she found out about Laci being missing, she immediately contacted police and started cooperating with them, even recording phone calls with Scott.
Those recordings were so damning. I remember one where Scott is calling Amber from Laci's vigil, pretending he's in Paris for New Year's Eve.
Wow, yeah, the audacity of that. Meanwhile, thousands of people are searching for his missing pregnant wife, and he's lying to his mistress about being in Europe.
It's just unbelievable. Now, let's talk about the physical evidence, because that's really what sealed the case. The investigation focused heavily on San Francisco Bay, which is where Scott claimed he was fishing. You know, George, what's also fascinating about this case is how much the investigation revealed about Scott's behavior in those crucial weeks before and after Laci disappeared. The police were watching him pretty closely.
Right, and in April 2003, the bodies of both Laci and baby Connor washed up on the shores of San Francisco Bay.
They had surveillance on him for months, and during that time, they documented him doing things like, instead of searching for his missing wife, he was going to the gym, playing golf, meeting with his lawyer. The optics were just terrible.
Such a horrible discovery. And the location was huge. It was only a few miles from where Scott said he was fishing that day. And there were all these little inconsistencies that kept adding up. Like, he told police he was using lures when he went fishing. But then he told other people he was using bait. He couldn't keep his story straight about the simplest details.
And the prosecution's theory was that Scott used homemade concrete anchors to weigh down Laci's body, but they eventually broke free. And then there was the whole thing with the boat purchase. Scott bought that boat just a few weeks before Laci disappeared, and he paid cash for it. He told the seller he wanted it for fishing, but neighbors said they never saw him use it before that Christmas Eve.
Yeah, and they found evidence of concrete dust in Scott's truck and warehouse. Plus, there was that one really creepy detail. They found a single hair that was identified as Laci's on a pair of pliers in Scott's boat. That timeline is so suspicious. And another thing that really stood out to investigators was Scott's demeanor during the searches. While Laci's family and thousands of volunteers were out there desperately looking for her, Scott was giving interviews where he seemed almost detached, like it wasn't really affecting him emotionally.
That hair evidence was really significant. It placed Laci in that boat, which contradicted Scott's story that she never went fishing with him.
Exactly. So Scott was arrested in April 2003. And George, do you remember how they caught him?
Oh yeah, he was near the Mexican border with dyed hair, a fake ID, and like $15,000 in cash. Classic flight risk behavior.
Right. His car was packed with camping gear, multiple cell phones. It really looked like he was planning to disappear permanently.
The trial was huge. It was moved to San Mateo County because of all the media coverage in Modesto, and it lasted about 5 months.
The defense tried to argue that Laci was killed by someone else after Scott left for his fishing trip, but the prosecution's case was just too strong.
Yeah, they had the affair, the lies, the suspicious behavior, the physical evidence, and the location where the bodies were found. In November 2004, the jury convicted Scott of first-degree murder for Laci's death and second-degree murder for Connor's death.
And he was sentenced to death, though that was later commuted to life in prison without parole in 2020, when California's death penalty was overturned.
Right. And Elizabeth, what really gets me about this case is how it became this cultural phenomenon. The media coverage was just insane. You know, Elizabeth, one thing that really struck me about this whole case was the impact on both families. Laci's family, particularly her mother, Sharon Rocha, became such powerful advocates throughout the entire process. She never gave up fighting for justice.
Oh, absolutely. It was one of those cases that really launched the true crime media obsession we see today. Cable news was covering it 24/7, and Scott Peterson became this household name. Sharon Rocha's victim impact statement at the sentencing was just heartbreaking. She talked about never getting to meet her grandson Connor, about all the milestones that were stolen from them. And on the flip side, Scott's family maintained his innocence throughout the whole thing, which must have been incredibly difficult for them too.
And I think part of what fascinated people was that surface-level normalcy that we talked about. Like, this could have been any suburban couple, you know? And this case didn't end with the conviction either. Scott's defense team filed multiple appeals over the years, claiming ineffective counsel, jury misconduct, you name it. There was even some controversy about whether certain jurors should have been dismissed during the original trial.
Exactly. It shattered that illusion of safety. But at the end of the day, behind all the media circus and public fascination, this was about a young woman and her unborn child who lost their lives. There have been ongoing legal challenges, but nothing that's overturned the conviction. And of course, this case has continued to fascinate people. There have been countless documentaries, books, TV movies. It really became this touchstone for how we think about domestic violence and family annihilation cases.
Absolutely. Laci Peterson was just 27 years old, excited about becoming a mother, and she deserved so much better than what happened to her. What's also really interesting to me, Elizabeth, is how this case highlighted the psychology of family annihilators. Scott Peterson fits a lot of the typical patterns: the desire to start fresh, the inability to handle responsibility, the narcissistic traits where he prioritized his own convenience over everything else.
Well said, George. All right, everyone. That's our deep dive into the Scott Peterson case. It's one of those stories that really stays with you, and we hope we've given you some new insights into what happened. And what's so chilling is that he seemed to view Laci and Connor not as human beings he loved, but as obstacles to the life he wanted with Amber Frey. The prosecutors called it the inconvenient truth, that rather than deal with a messy divorce and child support, he chose murder as his solution.
And that's what makes this case so disturbing, the cold calculation of it all. This wasn't a crime of passion or a moment of rage. This was someone who systematically planned to eliminate his family because they had become inconvenient to him. It really shows how some people can completely compartmentalize their actions. Thanks for listening to Dark Knight Crimes. In the next episode, we'll be covering the disappearance of Maura Murray, another case that's puzzled investigators and true crime enthusiasts for decades.
If you like content like this, please make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. This will really help out the channel. Until next time, stay safe out there, and remember, the truth always comes out eventually.